Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Full 10 Yards Betting Podcast. I hope you have enjoyed the lull of the last couple of months post Super Bowl and Kansas City Chiefs winning yet another Super Bowl. So obviously, there's going to be one happy person in this room today. But yes, to help get us a bit more conversation going for the next month or two, and as we start to kind of look at divisional kind of with divisional winners and all the rest of it, we have the small matter of the NFL draft to get through, which always drives up conversation, drives up fan hysteria, depending on whether or not your draft has gone well or not. Joining me, as always, to go through a plethora of NFL draft markets, which starts this Thursday night, early hours of Friday morning for those that are staying up. Mr. Adam Orford, Mr. Liam Horsley, as usual. Adam, good afternoon to you, sir. It's been a while, but plenty to get our teeth into on today's episode.
Yeah, the one kind of pit stop on the very long off season for the NFL is coming up this week, and then we'll be into, well, I guess looking at we'll do the full season. I assume with the full 10 yards, we'll be doing the season guide again, which obviously sells quite well each year, and we'll be doing our previews eventually when it comes to it. But yeah, I have done very little in the 2 months since the Super Bowl. Mad bit of research over the last few days trying to do a little bit of work for this draft pod and preparing for fantasy drafts, because obviously fantasy football rookie drafts will all be kicking off this weekend as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that are just getting back into the swing of things, maybe even from a betting standpoint, from previous years, we've always said that up to 24 to 48 hours before the draft is when all the good stuff kind of comes out, all the tidbits and stuff. So for those that have maybe been reading the tea leaves, the last couple of months, that could quite easily go out go out the window in the next 24 hours. So if you are a social media hoverer, doomsday scroller, if you will, this is when you can get an edge on the bookies. Dare I say, it's one of the few times you can actually get a decent bit of value. And just to be wary as well, just if you do see prices change on bookmakers' websites, it's not necessarily because the bookmakers have the information, it's because someone's betting on it, and the thresholds for bookies are quite low, and they will kind of chop and change quite quickly for all the sharps, and maybe react to stuff that's going on over here in the States as well. But so good evening to you, Mr. Liam Horsley. You're a good value hunter. Wide receiver for Kansas City Chiefs first off in the first round.
No, start me off early there. Maybe not wide receiver in the first round. We'll come on to that later on.
Okay.
But the mini spoiler. But yeah, I love the draft. It's kind of one of my favorite times of the year. Done a lot of draft podcasts this year as well. Helped out with a draft guide as well for some of the scouting for them. So yeah, it's been a fun few weeks. Look forward to chatting to you guys about some bets. But you're right, I think it's key not to jump too much in the next couple of days if people panic and see, 7-4 shot as all of a sudden now 5-6. Don't start chucking all your money on it from your wages. You know what I mean? You want to, there's like probably 5-6 names you want to wait for Twitter, see them tweet something, and then you react before the bookies do. So that'd be my advice. As what you said, it's that 24 to kind of 48 hours ish window before, and then also there's some really good value in the draft bets as well. So look for those long shots, because there'll be a pick in the top 10 no one sees coming, and that'll just change the rest of the order. So it's just, can you find that who's going to go 9 or 10 or whoever, and you could easily get yourself a 10-1 shot better than in this. So yeah, should be fun. We'll see. I was going to clip up loads of moments throughout the season of you both saying the Chiefs weren't going to get to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs weren't going to win the Super Bowl, but then I decided to get on with my life and not clip up all the old podcasts. But I was going to do that yesterday, and I completely changed my mind. So you're lucky.
Probably too many to clip up, Liam. I'm not sure I'll be able to get it in within half hour of the show. So
I listened to Tim. You were more negative on the Chiefs than Adam, to be fair. So Adam's kind of half saved here, but I decided to get on with my life. I was going to argue that.
I think we identified quite early on that they were defense first over offense, and that proved out pretty well all the way through season. I'm sure I said that about a month in. So I don't think I hinted too much that they wouldn't make it. It was just that they weren't as good as they were in previous years.
I'll just say one of the worst Super Bowl winners in recent memory. No, I'm joking.
I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, top 10, top 20, and first round picks. One of the few markets that we'll be going through today. If you are watching or if you are on YouTube, give us a subscribe, give us a thumbs up, give us some comments. If you've got any best bets or anything like that, and if anyone is watching and do it, we'll post them up as we go along. Adam's gone somewhere. Don't know where he's gone. Yeah, we're going to go through everything from top 5, top 10, top 20. Our favorite first team position picks for different teams, favorite player position over unders. There he is, Adam. Hi, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Yeah. Apparently, pressing log in while you're on a stream doesn't work too well.
No. Yeah, and then we're going to be doing maybe some favorite players to be drafted by certain teams, and then some best bets as well, and next bests and all the rest to try and point you in the way of some value. The other thing I will say as well is when there's certain people out there in the NFL industry that do mock drafts, that can be reactive as well from a bookie standpoint and slashing odds. And then also if you do see that there is a player that's maybe been chopped down for a certain position, or first player off the board, do have a look at some requester bets for different bookies, because sometimes they'll miss those, and then like Jonathan Brooks, first running back, for example, he's been shortened over the last 24 hours for first running back, but you can still maybe get, I did a requester bet yesterday, Jaden Daniels second overall pick, Jonathan Brooks first running back drafted was 9-4. It's now a lot shorter in those, but check those kind of things to maybe eke out a bit of value or something that gets missed, because you can have quite a few that pile up and stuff and whatnot. But right, boys, let's get going. Let's start off at the top of the draft. First 3 picks. Obviously, it's been known, no spoilers needed for that Caleb Williams is going first overall, but there is a bit of value, well, not necessarily value anymore. That's also changed in the last 24 hours. First 3 picks. Caleb Williams, first overall, but boys, any swerve or any pivot on Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, first 3 picks. Current favorite 8-15 was still odds on, but a bit longer than that 24 hours ago. But your boy's thoughts, any value in May Daniels or Daniels and McCarthy or anything like that, or is the favorite the way to go here?
I think the favorite will win. I think it's the right price. But yeah, I prefer Drake May. And if you believe the rumors of the Jane Daniels visit didn't go great to Washington, which I'm not sure I am, because I haven't seen anyone really talk about it who's that reputable. But if it starts leaking out day before they didn't go well, then yeah, the only other one for me is just swap 2 and 3 around, and then you go Caleb, May, then Daniels. I don't think there's a point of chucking in a non-quarterback for me, just because I think Patriots take one, or they trade out for a team that will take one. So yeah, it's one of those two for me. I think the favorite will win, so I wouldn't personally bet it. But if the rumors start leaking out maybe about Jaden in the next couple of days, then yeah, take that 5-1 shot before it goes off the board, because they'll pull it quite quick for a market like this if that happens.
Yeah, Adam, anything to add?
Yeah, same thing really. It's 6-1 on Paddy Power. It's the Paddy Power price boost is Williams, May, Daniels. So 6-1. I'll probably chuck a tenner on it just because I think there's more than a 33% chance. So yeah, I think it's worth it at 6-1-ish. The value on that one. I don't think it'll be anyone else. We did have a little bit of a scramble for JJ McCarthy a couple of weeks back in one of our groups, didn't we? But that was when he was 25-1 to go second overall. So there's no value on that now. I don't think that's going to pan out. But yeah, May and Daniels seem to be fairly similar and fairly well regarded, both of them. So it depends where you're looking, and depends what the Washington team are thinking, really.
Yeah, you can get top. We'll get to picks 4 and 5 in a moment, but there is a price boost on Sky Bet currently. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, first 4 picks 11-2, boosted from 9-2. That's coming that's been snipped in a little bit over the last couple of days. But yeah, let's get to position pick 4 and pick 5. Pick 4 is obviously the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, everyone thinks that Arizona are going to either take that or. But yeah, I think the consensus is that Arizona's might trade down. They obviously traded down and then traded back up last year, and obviously pick 5 is LA Chargers, who again are in a trade down position. So you have to be a bit wary when you are doing specific picks, and you can argue on the other side of the coin if you think they are a trade down target, that maybe someone that's not the favorite in those positions could be a decent bet. I actually think JJ McCarthy 11-4. pretty decent. I don't know what you boys think. I think the first 5, maybe first 8 picks could be absolute carnage in the NFL draft this year. With a couple of teams wanting to, when you've got people that want to trade down and teams that want to trade up, you're going to get a lot of action. So I think it's going to be a fun draft if you're staying up and watching. But Adam, what was your thoughts on pick 4 and pick 5?
I think, to be honest, both teams stay put. I don't mind Neighbours at 16-1 for the Cardinals, just because if they do stay there, I'm sure Liam will tell me better in a minute, but I heard, again, a lot of kind of conflicting opinion on Harrison or Neighbours, and Neighbours have been picking up a bit of steam in the last couple of weeks. And again, same for the Chargers. I think Neighbours, obviously assuming the Cardinals stay put, then Neighbours and Harrison should be those 2 picks, depending which order you want to take them. But as you say, it's a good position for the Cardinals. They don't need a quarterback, in their opinion. So they do have the ability to trade down if they want. I don't think the Vikings will pay up to get there. I don't think the Broncos will pay up to get there. So they're the 2 main ones who probably would have done. So I do think there's a good chance that it stays with the Cardinals. And then obviously I'm not going to take the 2 to 5 shot, but a 16-1 on Neighbours is a bit of a tempter at that price.
Liam?
Yeah, I'm with you that I think the JJ odds 11-4, I think you said, wasn't it, for pick 4 are pretty good. 9-4 for pick 5. I haven't done the maths time wise to see if it's better just to take him top 5 rather than placing both bets. But it just feels like he's gonna go 4, 5, 6, or 8. So for me, it's just how can you kind of get the best out of those for those odds. The only other one I wanted to mention was for pick 5. I think the Chargers could take an offensive lineman. So Joe Alt is 5-1, JC Latham 40-1. Chargers apparently love JC Latham and they apparently love Joe Alt. I'd be worried about Olu Fashanu. I don't think they might not take him, but Jim Harbaugh recruited Alt and Latham in college quite heavily, and obviously didn't get either of them. But he likes both, so I think they will trade out. But I'm similar to what you said, Tim. Like the draft's always crazy, so if they don't trade out, you've got a chance of getting a really good odds here that people probably don't think that you're going to get. So I like those 2. They'd be the ones I bet if I stayed away from JJ, which I still think is a good bet because I just don't think people let quarterbacks slip that far in the draft.
Yeah, and I agree. And I really like, you can do top 5 picks exact order: Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, Joe Alt at 5, 28-1. I absolutely love that. I think considering the Chargers' need for a tackle to go opposite Rashawn Slater, I think they would just stick there and take Alt. So I really like Alt as 5th overall pick. Yes, they could trade down maybe a pick or 2 to the Chargers, the Giants at 6, and you've obviously got. I think if they go down towards the Broncos and the Vikings, if somehow JJ McCarthy is still there, I don't think they'll necessarily get them. But like I say, they like JC Latham, so if you can get anything on JC Latham to be drafted by the Chargers, then that's not a bad little saver that you can get on there as well. What else have I got? Any other picks on here? 4 and 5. Any other? Go on.
It's a good shout, and obviously, as Liam was saying, with Harbaugh being there now, they're probably going to be a lot more run heavy, and to do that, you need good offensive linemen. So yeah, it's probably a decent shout, and obviously we've seen they've got rid of their wide receivers, which is why everyone thinks they will take one. But if they're not going to throw the ball, then might as well go O-line.
Because the thing is, well, O-line in the first position pick for the Chargers, O-line's 4-6, so it kind of like says, you'd rather have a punt on Alt at pick 5, or JC Latham top 10 or whatnot and stuff like that. So I think there's potentially a bit of value there. But again, keep your ears on the ground with regards to that. Anything else in terms of top 5, top 10, or top 20 or first round guys that you want to say? I mean, you can do. I mean, for some reason, I really like Marvin Harrison at number 6 to be drafted by the Giants at 20-1 at number 6 if they stay there.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if that happens, if the top 5 happen like I've just said, Marvin Harrison's sitting there at 6, and you've got Marvin Harrison sitting there in the New York kind of market. And even if Daniel Jones sucks again this year, they'll have a decent pick next year for a quarterback and do it then, rather than the other way around and go quarterback and then miss on, the wide receivers that are there. So yeah, Marvin Harrison 20-1 to be drafted by the Giants is definitely going to get a bit of my money. But anything else? Go on.
I was going to mention with that bet as well. I prefer it because you can bet pick six, can't you? I think as well, the exact pick six.
Marvin Harrison's 10-1 pick six.
Yeah, I prefer it to the Giants because if the quarterback goes 1-2-3, it would not shock me if they tried to trade up to 4, pretended to the Cardinals they were after a quarterback, and they took Marvin at 4 as the Giants because they need a wide receiver 1. So yeah, I know we've got player to team later, but yeah, I'm with you that I love that Harrison fit. Because I just don't think they want a quarterback, right? But if the top 3 are gone, what's the harm in, do you know what I mean, waiting and taking an elite wide receiver? I don't think it's when you're stuck with Daniel Jones for another year regardless, aren't you? So I just think that's a good way to go. I've got quite a few for top 10, 20th first round. So I don't know how many you want me to do in a row.
No, just bang through a couple and then maybe say your favourite.
Yeah, cool. I've got a best bet coming later that I'll leave to the end. But Fashanu, 5-1, top 10. Similar to what I said about the Chargers wanting an offensive lineman. The Bears, I don't know if I listened to some press conferences this week. The Bears GM said positions of need. He listed offensive tackle first before he said wide receiver or before he said quarterback. His brain went straight to offensive line. And they used to coach Olu Fashanu. And obviously they're pick 9 at the moment. Now they could trade back. So that kind of kills you at top 10. But I quite like that. And if the Jets lose out on Joe Alt and Rome Odunze, I think Fashanu at 10 is another good option. So I like him for top 10. Fuaga, top 10 as well, just for the Jets. But you may as well take him at 10-1 for pick 10 rather than, I think he was 5-1 for top 10. So if you think it's only the Jets that are going to take him like I do, I think you may as well just go Jets at pick 10. And then top 20, I love Mims, the tackle. If basically the Steelers are pick 20, the Steelers always tip their picks. You always know who the Steelers are going to pick. And their beat writers have said it's between Mims and Barton. And Mims is 5-4 to go in the top 20. So it has to be at pick 20, like from my scenario. But you've still then got picks 10 to 19 where it could happen. Like the Bengals at 18 could say, let's take Mims, or the Jags could say, let's take Mims. So I think he's quite good odds at 5-4. Michael Penix at 3-1 is not bad as well for top 20 because the Raiders pick at 13, I think it is. And they love him. Now, if I was them, I'd trade back in at the end. But I think 3-1 is a fine shot if you think he's got a chance. And then my final one is Patrick Paul, 4-1. I think the Chiefs might take Patrick Paul, unfortunately, for me. And 4-1's the best I've found. I haven't shopped around as well as like you two do. So could be higher odds than 4-1 because he is really a second end of the second.
Where's the fours with? Because best I can find was 3 because I love that as well.
4-1 was with Sky Bet yesterday. Is that down to 3 now? Is it? Yeah, 3-1. Yeah, he's told people that he's got first round grade from a team that he's going to go in the top 32, and he keeps saying 32 rather than top first round. And the Chiefs have had him in for a visit, so it feels like Chiefs or 49ers might take Paul at 32. So I think 3-1 still good value if people fancy taking that on. So yeah, they're my kind of top 10, 20 and round 1.
Cool, yeah. Something that I like. JC Latham, top 10 is 5-1. Latu, top 10 is 5-2. Joel, if you want to do top 5 a different way, but I'd say I'd probably rather do pick 5 for Joel, as I mentioned earlier. But that's 9-2, top 5 with Star Sports. And then first round, I've got Patrick Paul as well, and then Rosengarten as well, 4-1 as a bit of a flyer. So those are the ones that I like. Adam, you've reliably informed me you don't have any in this particular area, so we'll move swiftly on to teams' first position pick. So if you on various sites, though, if you are a supporter of your team, obviously everyone's going to have an opinion on what you think is going to be the first position that they pick. So I'll let other people speak on theirs first because I've got quite a few that I'm going to go through. So Adam, have you got any particular teams that you like particular positions for?
Yeah, obviously for the Bengals, it's a little bit more difficult now because they're not having to draft for need because they brought in Trent Brown, so they've got the offensive line kind of sorted. Offensive line is 1-2 for them, but if Brock Bowers is there, which of course they should do that. But yeah, if Brock Bowers is somehow still there, I think really if he gets past the Jets and we think the Jets might take O-line, then it's probably only the Colts who are going to take him above the Bengals. So the Colts are 15, the Bengals are at 18. It's 12-1 for the Bengals to take a tight end on Sky Bet. So if you think Bowers is going to slip, then that's probably a decent bet. I am playing the Bowers lottery a little bit because you can get The Jets 2-1 to take a tight end, and the Colts are 7-2 to take a tight end. So if you did want to kind of go across all three, then you're probably going to be in profit on that one. But again, the Bengals might take Byron Murphy if he's still there at 18 as well. 4-1 to take a defensive lineman. So yeah, annoyingly for me and for my team, they do. I mean, it's good for the team. Obviously, they don't have to draft for need. They can take best player available on their board. So there are quite a few options for the Bengals. Other than that, yeah, I did have yeah, it was basically Jets tight end, Bengals tight end, but they're both playing on Brock Bowers. So I know you guys have got quite a few more with positional things and positional needs. I have heard the Bills taking a cornerback, which I know was infuriating Bills fans at 6-1, because they are obviously in desperate need of a wide receiver, but wide receiver depth is far better than defense. So it would make sense if they go first round cornerback, because their secondary has taken a few hits over the recent years. So 6-1, I thought wasn't too bad for that. But other than that, I'll leave it to you guys.
Yeah, I saw a mock draft where the Bills were trading back with the Broncos, so the Broncos could come and get Penix or Bo Nix or whatever. And then as part of the trade, they sent Cortland Sutton to the Bills, which didn't seem too bad actually, considering the Broncos clearly hate Cortland Sutton and the Bills need that kind of receiver. So there were obviously other pieces in that deal, but I didn't necessarily hate that. So that's maybe who knows. Liam?
I watched the same mock draft this afternoon on my lunch break, which is good. That's exactly why I found the same bet as 6-1. Yeah, I only had 3 because I know you've got a couple as well. Chiefs offensive lineman 6-4, wide receiver is the favorite. Yeah, you never know what to believe. Brett Veach is normally pretty straight up, to be honest, before the draft. And yeah, just kept saying about how deep the wide receiver, how many they love loads of wide receivers in round 2 and round 3. And the offensive lineman class is really good at the top and then falls off really quickly. And he kept talking about it. He did mention defensive line being really strong as well. So, but personally, it just seems like Chiefs offensive line is the way to go. They tried to trade up for one last year, so I think that's good at 6-4. Falcons take a cornerback 9-4. This would be Quinyon Mitchell for me. So maybe pick 8 is a better way to go. But if they trade back, like I think they could still take a corner and don't lose that bet if they take a cornerback at that. So I don't mind that at 9-4. They desperately need a corner. Everyone has them going edge rusher, but apparently they love Quinyon Mitchell, so I think he'd be the guy they target. And then the last one is Colts wide receiver. Same person who was in the mocks that Tim's talking about. Very close friends with someone who works for the Colts, and apparently they're trying to trade up quite aggressively. That could be for Bowers, but if it's not for Bowers, it sounds like it's for a wide receiver. So whether that's a Dunze or Neighbors or maybe even Thomas, but wide receiver 3-1 for the Colts I quite like, just to get Richardson another weapon. So yeah, they were the only 3 that I had.
Yeah, no, I do like Colts. I think a Colts Falcons trade could be one that kind of happens, especially if a Dunze is there. Like say if you've got Joe Alt going at 5, and then you get Marvin Harrison at 6, you're going to get a Dunze or Neighbors at 8, and I think the Colts will trade up and get to 8 and get wide receiver. So I do really like the Colts wide receiver at 3-1 as their first pick. A couple of short ones that I like: Detroit corner 6-4, New York Jets offensive line is evens. That's been hammered in the last 24 hours or so because obviously everyone thinks tight end, but that's obviously being changed. The other short one was Denver quarterback. I don't think the Denver Broncos are going to leave the first round without quarterback, so I think quarterback for Denver. Sean Payton, I don't think Sean Payton's going to. I think he's just going to go all in with getting a quarterback, and then if it all blows up in his face, he'll just retire. So I think he doesn't care about how many bullets he unleashes in his gun. So Denver quarterback. I mean, it's 10-11, so it's not going to get me get a lot of money because I think for them to draft Bo Nix is evens as well. So if you think that's going to happen. I know Bo Nix and Penix Jr. are pretty much second round grades for the majority of teams, but Bo Nix to go in the first round is a more attractive price, and you get a few more teams potentially that could trade back into the first round. So I'd probably go that way with that. Some big ones at big prices. Seattle corner 15-1. Mike McDonald needs. If you look at who he's had previously, last year he had Carl Hamilton and the other one, the one in college, the name escapes me, but I think they need a particular type of corner to fill the role that Mike McDonald wants for their defense to operate how they do. And Devon Witherspoon's not going to be able. He's not that type of player. And there are a few guys at the back end of the first round that fit the bill for kind of what Seattle wants. So I thought Seattle corner at 15-1 wasn't too bad. The other ones I like is the Rams wide receiver at 7-1. Cooper Kupp is getting a bit on, and they there's loads of players that Sean McVay. It's the first time that the Rams have had a first round pick since 1950. So I think Sean McVay, with the way he is, he's going to want an offensive player. So wide receiver kind of poked my eyes there at 7-1, and then finally Dallas wide receiver at 10-1. Adonai Mitchell. I don't mind. I think has a decent shot at the prices. I think we should be going offensive line for the left hand side of the line, but again, you never really know. And Dallas has been quite sensible in the last couple of years, but I didn't mind 10-1 for a Dallas wide receiver. Obviously, got rid of Michael Gallup. We kind of need someone to fill in that X role that Jalen Tolbert's not going to do it, and Brandon Cook's obviously getting on as well. So I wouldn't mind chucking a fiver at 10-1 on a Dallas wide receiver there. So I think that's covered all of mine. Let me just check my list. Yep, that's all mine. That's all mine done. So let's move swiftly on then, fellas. Favorite player position over under. Obviously, there are a few sites that do particular players. Whether you think they'll go over or under that position. It can take a bit of time to get your head around what over means and what under means. But it's over. Under is lower on the number. Over is higher on the number. So Liam, any favourite over under positions for you? Unfortunately, with this market, they're juiced to an over and under. You never get a kind of a pick 'em. So it is a bit annoying. You have to kind of put on a bit of money if you fancy the favourites, but if you fancy something shocking to happen, you can get a bit of value.
Yeah, mine are favourites, but there's some sites with even more players out there. So I do recommend spend 20 minutes, go through the list, because you'll find some really good juice on some over-unders. And in the first 30-odd picks, you only need one or two players to go in a different order, and it can really kind of push someone up the board a bit. So yeah, I've got 4. We mentioned a couple of the players already, but JC Latham, 14.5. Get that top 10 that I like, but then you also get the Broncos, which need a tackle, and you get the Saints at 14 that need a tackle for sure. And I think they're 1 to 2. Adam said to draft an offensive lineman first, so his odds are basically better than that, just to go under 14.5. So I like that one. And then you've got Mims and Barton are the 2 players the Steelers are linked with. They are both. So Barton is 20.5, Mims is 22.5. I put under on both because the Steelers are obviously 20, so they're under on both of those. And again, apparently the Seahawks really like Barton, and there's 3 or 4 teams in the 9 to 20 range that like Mims. So I think they're good bets on the offensive end. And then my other one is one that I'm kind of just going from what experts say. I didn't think this was going to happen, but Byron Murphy, I thought he'd probably be a Bengal, maybe a Dolphin. But his under-over is 14.5. It's gone down from 16.5 to 14.5. I've going with the under because a lot of people said he can be the first defensive player off the board to the Falcons or to the Broncos. So I'm kind of just going to lead with the tea leaves there and go under 14.5 for Byron Murphy. But yeah, my favourites are definitely the offensive linemen, the top 3 I mentioned, because I think they'll all go in the top 20.
Yeah, there will be a lot of offensive linemen going in this draft. Obviously, when the draft was kind of, everyone started to get their eyes on the draft, everyone thinking, there's going to be 20 million wide receivers going in the first round, but that's shifted under. Again, we'll get to totals shortly in the minute, but yeah, I don't think there'll be that many wide receivers as many people first thought. But Adam, your thoughts?
My favourite one is probably Latu, under 16.5, I think he is. He did have a year out in college because of a neck injury, but apparently people are interviewing and not even asking about his injury history, so they obviously think he's overcome that. And everything I've heard recently suggests that he's going to be, or he could be up there with first defensive pick as well, maybe the Falcons as well. So obviously the Falcons, we are fairly sure we're going defensive pick, and it's either Murphy, Latu, or Dallas Turner. On the other side of it, I guess going Dallas Turner over on his draft position, I think it was 9.5, is probably a decent bet if you want to go the other way with it. Because the more I hear this week and the more I look into it, Turner doesn't seem like he's the lock that he once was for first defensive player. So yeah, Latu or Murphy. As Liam said, like Murphy was one of the guys that I've been reading a decent bit about going to the Bengals at 18, but yeah, it does seem like that might be a bit of a stretch nowadays. So we'll see with that. And then I was looking around a little bit more. Sorry, it's under 16.5 was 4 to 7 for Latu. So you have to put a decent bit of money on to get your return, but it does seem like he's going to go the first half of that round. Just one on Bo Nix, just because you mentioned him before. He's 6-4 to be drafted in the first round, but under 32.5 is 13-8. So just a little bit of extra money there. And like Tim was saying earlier, just look around the various markets for similar or identical bets with different odds, just to see what you get. I do want to quickly say just that Paddy Power most years have in play as well. You can normally choose put a bet on who's going probably a couple of picks ahead of where they are on the TV. So if you are staying up for the night, it's always a decent one to keep an eye on. You can normally get a little bit of value from Paddy Power on that one.
Yeah, and then just another note on what I was saying earlier about some especially Sky Bet, because they have a funky way of how they do some of their first, second, or third picks, or first, second, or third wide receivers. I think Bo Nix was for a top 20 pick was 8-11 at one point, but he was 3-1 to be 6-4 to be drafted in the first round or something like that as well. So there are going to be discrepancies because it is a bit convoluted on how some of these sites do the different bets, and even like with Odds Checker, it doesn't always filter through. So even if you're an Odds Checker looking for a certain pick and a bookie doesn't kind of list it, make sure go on their site and just double check, because there are certain things on, especially on Sky Bet, where I think player to be drafted in the first round, it doesn't appear for them, but it is on site as well. So another little tip for you. The only other one that I fancy that you guys haven't mentioned, excuse me, Brock Bowers over 11.5. If I don't think he's going to the Jets, I don't necessarily think teams will trade up for him either personally. So over 11.5, I think was odds against. So I quite liked that. I think he's one of those guys that maybe it's because I'm a fantasy guy, but he seems to be quite overhyped, and I can see him start to fall, especially if all these teams want tackles, or if there's a tackle run, or if there's like wide receiver people trading up to go and get wide receivers and whatnot as well. So I thought 11.5. I'd rather be on the over rather than the under on that one. Okay, I mentioned it.
Bengals on that though
yeah,
it's probably going to be one of them two, and like I say, 7-2 and 12-1 for either of them to draft a tight end is probably a better way to go on to attack that one for me personally, anyway.
Yeah, but again, say there might be just a weird. I saw again probably the same one Liam saw. I saw that mock draft where Bowers went to the New England Patriots, so like in the teens or something. So, funny things can happen. So it just safeguards you instead of in case the Colts go for a wide receiver and the Bengals go for an offensive lineman, so to speak. So I know it's a shorter price. We're probably not getting too much more money wise if betting on the two things. But anyway, we shall move on. We did mention that Marvin Harrison to the Giants at 20-1 as one of our favourites for a team to draft a certain player. So, Liam, are there any other players and any teams that you are playing Cupid with?
Yeah, I haven't spent loads of time on this one, but I had one that I found because I wasn't sure if it would annoy you or not. So I wanted to put one Cowboys one in there just to see how you feel. Xavier Worthy, fastest man. Feels like Jerry Jones would like a very fast man from Texas. 11-1 is the best bet you can get on him to the Cowboys. Now, I didn't know that they were 10-1 to draft a wide receiver. That bet is obviously way better because AD Mitchell's also from Texas, so that covers you. But originally, I liked Worthy at 11-1, but I wouldn't necessarily match that now. I think he was 7-1 for the Chiefs as well, but again, I think offensive lineman. But Worthy to the Cowboys one I liked, but I agree with you earlier. Just go wide receiver if you like that bet because you get 2 or 3. Because it could be Lab McConkey for all you know they love. So there's no other really ones that jump out to me, to be honest, apart from probably Michael Penix to the Raiders, but the odds are just they've been bet down now they're too short. So again, I'd rather bet him top 20 than I would bet him to the Raiders.
Adam, any for you?
No, not really. I know I'm not going to jump on your one because I know which one you're going with. But no, I as Liam said, 3-1 for Penix to the Raiders. I don't think is that bad. They don't have to move up, probably don't have to move up for that one. So I don't mind a 3-1 on that one. And then JJ McCarthy to the Vikings at 17-10 is the best you're getting on him. It's probably not worth a risk either because you never know what's going to happen. So frankly, not a whole lot from me on that market.
What am I going for?
I assume you're going to mention your Brooks to the Cowboys at 4-1.
That is one I was going to mention. Yeah, I do really like Brooks. Brooks for first running back, but yeah, Dallas obviously picked towards the back end of the second round. So I think if he gets within range, like he's kind of one of the few guys that can handle a 3-down role. Obviously, he's coming off a torn ACL, but he should be okay. But and I think just the way that the Cowboys, obviously, we've got Dowdle, Freeman, and a whole host of not a lot going on. I think they'll handle the load for the first couple of weeks, and then Brooks will be eased in. But he's by far the best running back in this class for me. So I think, considering the need, the Cowboys, I think it's just a good fit. And again, it just continues the Texas theme, doesn't it, for Jonathan Brooks? But yeah, the other one that I quite like, just as a bit of a flyer, JJ McCarthy to the Denver Broncos, 5-1. Again, I don't think that they'll leave the first round with without a quarterback, and there is obviously scenarios where the Denver Broncos or Sean Payton just fires a flare gun and says, charge, and trade up to 4 or 5 if he gets there. And again, 5-1, maybe a bit slightly bit on the short side, but not the worst one that I've seen. So that was pretty much it. Is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about before we get to next bests and naps?
It was just Quinyon Mitchell, first cornerback, 8-11. I think he'll be the first cornerback off the board. So it was evens, which is a bit annoying. It's gone down now, but I still think it's bettable at 8-11. And like you said, you might find it in a request a bet, paired with Marvin Harrison, first wide receiver, or paired with, I don't know, Drake May top 5 or something. So yeah, it's worth having a look around, because I think Quinyon Mitchell, seems to be most people's first corner from what you hear around all the mock drafts from people that know what they're talking about.
Adam?
No, I don't have anything else, to be honest. I was just having a quick scan around for Quinyon Mitchell now. So you got Harrison, Joel, and Mitchell, the first of their positions, 13-10, not very good. Mitchell cornerback, Mitchell and Alt is 10-11, so again, not very good. But as Liam said, there probably is. He is probably somewhere in request a bet, so you might be able to get some value on.
Yeah, like I say, yeah, and outside of we say first position players, Latu first defensive player, I think it's about 5-2, but that's getting a bit of steam at the moment. So I expect that to come down a little bit and probably be favourite at some point, no doubt. Okay, then boys, let's get out of here with our best bets and next bests. Adam, let's start with you.
I have gone with. Did I go with Latu as my best bet in the end? I cannot remember.
I think you did.
Latu under 16.5, 4-7 on Paddy Power. Again, not great odds, but everything I've been reading about this week seems to suggest he's going to go higher than most people think. And as we've said, maybe possibly first defensive player. So I think 4-7 should be decent enough. And then Bowers selected by the Colts or Bengals. You can get that as a single bet at Paddy Power for 13-5, or as I say, you can do 7-2 and 12-1 for them teams to take a tight end, and then you've got chance of both of them.
Lovely stuff, Liam.
I've gone for over 21.5 offensive players in round 1 at 11-8. It just, the offensive linemen really are a lot of that. I think it's 9.5 as the offensive line amount, but I think with an extra quarterback or an extra receiver,
let me help you out. There you go.
There we go. So, but I think you get a bit more value maybe going over 21.5 just in case another position sneaks in. I think I looked at the mock draft of like 10. Sorry, the last 10 most accurate on the huddle report, and I think 9 of them had over 21.5 in their most recent mock. So for me, it seems like a likely-ish scenario now. You just don't want like the Ravens, Chiefs, and 49ers to take defenders randomly at the end, but I think for 11-8, that's a good bet. So that's my best bet.
Cool. My best bet is a request bet that I requested yesterday. It has now come down in price, which is a bit annoying, but I obviously managed to get on at the decent price of 9-4. Is Jaden Daniels number 2 overall pick, and Jonathan Brooks first running back. It was 9-4. It is now 6-4. That's both on Sky Bet and William Hills. You have to do a bit of digging for the William Hills one, but yeah, that's obviously, I saw Jonathan. I just feel that the consensus is no one really cares about Jonathan Brooks' injury. And you mentioned there in the chat, Adam, the guy that did Jonathan Brooks' surgery is the Dallas doctor. So again, that's another dot connected potentially as to why Brooks will go there. which will give me confidence if he does go there, because obviously, you know, we know he done the surgery and he was okay with it, kind of thing. But yeah, so that's my nap. Shame I can't advise it at 9 to 4, because I think that's a very decent price personally, because I think Jonathan Brooks is starting to go odds on now in places for first running back, and Jaden Daniels is best part of 1 to 3. But yeah, add the two together, you got 6 to 4 there, which is again something to better than something that's odds on. So we'll go with that. Liam, start with your next best.
I say, should have told us about 9 to 4 before you max staked it. That's what's happened. We've got down to 6 to 4.
It literally on Sky Bet at 9 to 4. It literally lasted 15 minutes.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me. Yeah, my next best was JC Latham, top 10 at 5 to 1. I think like I said, Chargers, Bears, Jets, and I think the Titans are an option, because if Joe Alt goes at 5, the Titans want a lineman. They're going to pick one. It just seems like everything you hear, Latham is loved by the league, maybe more than the media people that talk about these players. So yeah, I think JC Latham top 10, 5 to 1 is a good shout. It was 3 to 1 on Sky Bet, but I know you guys found it better elsewhere. So yeah, make sure you shop around, because that does make a difference when you're talking like 3 to 1 to 5 to 1 for a very specific bet like this.
Yeah, Adam.
Yeah, I think I mentioned mine before. It was the Brock Bowers, either 13 to 5 for the Bengals or the Colts, or if you want to go slightly different, do 7 to 2 and 12 to 1 for the Bengals and Colts to take tight end first. Although I will throw in Saints to draft O-line at 1 to 2. That seems like a banker as well. So I am actually in the process of requesting Saints O-line and Latu under 16.5. See if I can get that around evens as a double, and I'll be quite happy with that.
Yeah, lovely. I had Latham top 10 at 5s as my next best. So I'll try and find something different. Let's go with Detroit corner 6 to 4 is probably one I quite fancy. Or Joe Alt 5th overall pick is probably the other one I could probably have a decent bet on. But I also don't mind the first four picks to be quarterbacks in the order of Williams, Daniels, May, McCarthy as first 4 picks. 11 to 2, the boost on Sky Bet. Again, for 11 to 2, you can't really. You're betting on essentially pick 3 and pick 4 there. So, yeah, that's probably how I will attack that. Okay, boys, that is the NFL draft done. We're going to win lots of quiche. So thank you to you two for pointing over all of our listeners and watchers in the way of that. Let's say at full 10 yards is the handle. Obviously, there'll be a bit of a break before we get back onto the divisional trail. No idea when we started that last year. Was it June, July-ish time? I think one a week or something like that. But yeah, so you won't see our ugly mugs for a little bit. But yeah, if you stand up, enjoy the draft. Thank you to Adam. Thank you to Liam. I've been Tim, your host, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.